The No Nonsense Roundtable. It's a weekly show broadcast on Rochester, New York's 50,000-watt iHeart radio station, News Radio Wham 1180. The host, Dom Geneva, interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. What you are about to hear is a recording of a previous broadcast with limited commercials. Now, here's host, Dom Geneva.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of your No Nonsense Roundtable. Today I have a fan favorite, a perennial. What does perennial mean, by the way? I never, about a perennial.
Every year.
Yeah, every year is. I thought that's an annual. I don't know. I am so confused. I was at a landscape place the other day. I have no idea. So a perennial, we'll call him, friend and local, former police chief, former candidate for Senate, staunch Republican. I will say you are proudly a staunch Republican. Been doing a lot of stuff online lately, and that's why he's on the show. And it is Mr. Jim VanBrederode.
Oh, thank you, Dom, for having me. I love coming up here and being on your show. And there's so much going on in our world right now. And look, I'm totally retired, but I love sitting back and watching the politics because it affects our lives every day, from driving your car to how much you pay in taxes to the crime that's going on. It's hard not to watch and see what's going on. And these are exciting times in politics around the whole country.
Well, I've seen I've seen you on TV when you were a police chief and you were president of the Monroe County Police Chiefs Association. And the thing about you, and I'm not blowing smoke at you, is that you are a great communicator. You may agree with Jim VanBrederode or may not agree with Jim VanBrederode, but you are an excellent communicator, and you get your story out very nicely, quickly, and you can understand it. And the thing is with you on the show right now is that what compelled me to ask you to come on the show today is that you've been posting a lot lately. And since the election, a lot of stuff has been going on, and you have some pretty good observations about it. And I have to tell you, I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat, but I got to tell you, I am leaning more Republican now because of some of these things that have been going on. And I think a lot of people are feeling the same way. Maybe some people not, but I have to tell you, at least something's getting done, right?
Yeah, I had 37 years dealing with government, right? Even as the police chief, there's still politics and government involved in a police department. And so when I see social issues coming up, or I see laws getting passed, or what's going on in Washington, and I can relate to that, I think it's kind of I feel like it's my responsibility to kind of help educate the community. And we have a great platform now through Facebook and social media. You can be your own commentator. And I hate holding back information when I know the general public is about to get railroaded, and with some policy or some law that's coming. It just frustrates me. And I feel like I'm obligated as a fellow citizen to tell people, hey, this is not right. I saw this before. I know what's coming. And it's not good, but to hold that information and not communicate it out, I just feel it's our job as citizens to educate ourselves.
Well, and you have to realize when you do something like that, you take a stand. Some people are not going to like you very much, but that's life, right? And
I like to believe most of my opinions are just common sense.
Yeah.
What would your mother say? What would the average citizen think about this? Whether it's a new policy coming out, tax.
Yeah. Well, and some of the things that take, for instance, because I have to laugh about this, the Hunter Biden laptop. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that can't be true. That's a Russian thing. That's just a thing. No, he was that stupid.
Yes, he was.
I can't believe he would have to really be stupid. Yeah, he was really stupid. And the other thing is that whether you like it or not, things are changing, right? I mean, since January, whatever it was, January 20th, whatever it is, things are changing. So let's talk a little bit about, the most important things that you have seen and you want to comment about. Just go ahead.
Well, first of all, I think the most important part is what's happening in our local government, because that's really what affects us directly, right? Whether it's your town or your state. Now, this election season coming up is all about your local town government, village, right? Your towns, and nothing to do with the state, this election. It's all about your little town supervisor or your council people. Do you want your leaves picked up? Do you want, more snow plows, more library hours? You want a public swimming pool? These are the people that control this level of government, which is really the most it's the frontline services that you see as a resident, what happens in your community. Next year, of course, is going to be the state elections, which is going to be your whole state government is going to be up for re-election this year, from the governor to the attorney general to all your senators and assembly people. And that's that separate level of government that passes laws like we saw this week, Kathy Hochul is going to outlaw cell phones in a public school. Instead of letting your school districts decide that, the state of New York is going to tell you can or cannot have cell phones in school. To what we're seeing with the crime, obviously, to your taxation, fees, fines, all this stuff that annoys you every day. That all comes out of the state level. And that's next year. That's a huge election because as we know here in New York State, I just feel like we live in an environment where the government's foot is just on the necks of all of us as residents. I really feel we're being treated like second-class citizens, and we're just paying way too much. They just passed the biggest, $11 billion increase in the budget. It's gone crazy what the spending is. Another hot topic this week, we saw, she signed the bill for free lunches in every public school. Free lunches. What happened to the days when I went to school, my mother made a lunch, and there were kids that couldn't afford lunches, and they were given lunches. You know what I mean? But this whole idea of we just give everything free. I mean, what's next? We're going to give everyone $500 for clothing so they can all have nice clothes to go to school.
Well, take a look with I don't know how many people are kind of news buffs, but this thing happening in New York with this fellow that they I don't even know what the guy's name is. I can't pronounce it, but the guy who says he's going to have as mayor, he's going to institute a city-owned grocery stores. And free use of the transit system, and going to freeze the rent. And the way he's going to do this is just going to charge the rich people more money, and it's all going to happen. I mean, it sounds like what happened in Venezuela years ago, right? They had a thriving economy until whoever it was says, we'll get all the rich people to pay for this stuff, and the thing all collapsed as socialism, they call it, right?
Yeah. Exactly, and there's just so much going on, and at the state level. So that's next year's elections. On who you want to put back in office. Do you want to continue down the path we're going, or try some other people?
So my example of this fellow in the city, in New York City, that's a biggie. Okay, that's a really substantial change, and the radical candidates there. In your local towns, does it make much difference up here? I mean, probably not, right?
I don't think a Republican Democrat really makes a difference. It's about who's leading, who's got a vision for your town, who's getting stuff done.
Well, we're getting dominated by downstate. I mean, think about it. We have a different culture up here in upstate New York, middle of New York. You get from north of Westchester. It's far more Republican, far more conservative, far more rural, and we're not the people that are really tipping the scale as far as the state goes. The scales are tipped by people downstate. But then again, that's changing too. We're going to talk about that right after the break, because there's something I read online about Trump's popularity in a place called Astoria, Queens.
Interesting.
We're going to pause now for a message or two. This is Dom Geneva from my friends at Metro Mattress. Cars have gotten better over time. Anti-lock brakes, GPS, backup cameras. Well, it's the same thing with mattresses and bases. The whole industry has changed, and there's new stuff out there that you need to be aware of. Now, one of the things is you want to deal locally, and you can have that too. You deal with Metro Mattress. They are based in Syracuse. They have 7 stores locally here in Rochester. It's where Nina and I got our mattress and base. See them. This is Dom Geneva for my friends, a couple of young guys, Jarozinski Brothers Sealing. They have a very professional company to seal your driveway. They are efficient. They are reasonable. They know what to do to treat you right. Jarozinski Brothers Sealing. Just Google them. Jarozinski's Brothers Sealing. Jarosinski Brothers Sealing. They're wonderful. I use them. You should. Well, welcome back. We're talking to. Should I call you Chief VanBrederode? Once you're a.
I'm done. I'm retired.
But is this like the president's not president anymore? But you still call him Mr. President. You still call. Can we call you Chief? You're blushing. Look at you, yeah. Chief VanBrederode. Yeah, a wonderful commentator on the state of New York, your town, and what we need to do to have a productive. I would say you said common sense. I would use the word no nonsense society. But we're talking about Astoria, Queens. I was reading something in the New York Times, and they said Astoria, Queens, which is a Hispanic community. I think Trump made a 15-point gain from where he was years ago because of the immigration issue. Right. So you have somebody who came here legally. They have a restaurant legally. Somebody is outside of their restaurant with a cart, no license, no adherence to the laws for food preparation and stuff like that. You have massage parlors that are opening up. The neighborhood itself is changing, and the Hispanic people that have been there are upset with the benefits that these, they say undocumented, they're illegal aliens are getting from the state. Now, what was it? There was a hotel, the Roosevelt Hotel, the whole Roosevelt Hotel. They were filling with illegal immigrants.
Yeah, New York really took the brunt of thousands being brought up here, and that was a interesting move because it really harmed your local residents and the legal immigrants who have been here. Set them off, to have all these illegals brought in, take over, and many times trash a lot of those hotels and trash the streets, and if you're someone who's following the law, it just makes you mad, upset, and so I can see why so many voters, the Hispanics, went towards Trump because he's the only candidate that was going to offer some kind of a solution to this. And what's fascinating is, you remember when every night we were watching TV, and every night you would see photos of thousands coming across the board. Right. The trains, people hanging on the trains. And we were told every night, there's nothing we can do until we get this bipartisan bill, right? And of course, you're never going to get a bipartisan bill. Right. There's just too many different opinions. And then you have a new president come in, and within days, started to restore order. And you say, for years that could have been done. Instead, we all sat there and watched millions of people just come in here, and we have no idea who most of them are. I just feel like we were lied to. We were betrayed as citizens.
Well, the thing about Trump, and that's why I'm not laughing about that in particular. It's like, you can't bomb Iran.
Watch me.
Watch it. Hold my beer. That's you can't do that. And then the head of NATO. The head of NATO is going, oh, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's right. That's
I can't do that. Well, that's against the War Powers Act. I don't care. I think. But he learned the thing about Trump. The thing you got to give him credit for is that he had 4 years to learn all this, okay, and then he had 4 years to think about what he would do differently.
That couldn't have worked out any better.
Yeah, and I got to tell, like I said, at least something is getting done. I mean, you can't agree with everything anybody does, but it is very interesting to watch.
But it's exciting because, for years, we as citizens, when you think about changing something in Washington, you think it's going to take 4 to 8 years to get anything done, right? We can't decide. It'll take that long. And to watch a guy come in here, a non-career politician, by the way, non-career, he's not bound to anybody, and he's coming in here like an elephant in a china shop, but it's to the good, to promote America, to make us strong again, to bring back our military, our economy. The tariffs are all about getting us income for our country. I love it. I'm just sitting back watching, and I'm watching my 401k. I'm watching what's happening with my monthly expenses. Yeah. Say what you want about the guy, but I really believe he is here to make this a better place to live, to make the average citizen have more money in their pocket, and to make America strong.
Well, yeah, look at what he's doing. He cozies up with Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia, when they're making decisions in the Middle East, I mean, they are to be reckoned with. So look at the price of gas right now. The other day was $3.09. That's pretty damn good.
It's
it wasn't that many years ago that Chrysler was offering, when I was a Chrysler dealer, they were offering a deal where you could get a rebate, or they would guarantee that your gas would not be more than $5. Well, that didn't happen. I mean, you're back down to like normal. Right? So they talk about inflation. Now, what is inflation to people? Inflation to people, gasoline is a big part of inflation, right? I mean, once you can start controlling that, I mean, you don't buy eggs that much. I mean, yeah, eggs got to be expensive, but you don't buy eggs that much. And the gas thing, and I got to tell you, this thing with Iran and stuff like that, I think Saudi Arabia had a little bit of our back on that deal, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and we're only 7 months into this new presidency, and I'm still looking forward to the day where we're going to have more of the oil coming right from here.
Oh yeah.
Pipeline. Look at that price is going to come down more. The problem is we're so used to, we want it tomorrow, we want it today, we want it right now. Yeah, but it'll be exciting to see where we are a year, 2 years from now. Yeah, how everything's still shaking out, But I really believe we finally have somebody in office who really believes we come first. Our citizens come first, our country, our businesses come first. To watch these businesses coming back to the United States to build their factories back here, to make their product, the cars over here, it's hilarious to watch. That could have been done years ago, but nobody held them put their feet to the fire and say, no, if you're going to move to Mexico, then we're going to tariff you.
Right.
Don't move the John Deere factory down to Mexico. John Deere. That track. I just went on a trip yesterday in the rural area. There are John Deere tractors on every farm. That is the American tractor, no doubt about it. And to think that they went and moved some of their manufacturing down to Mexico, that should have been stopped long before that happened.
Well, George Conboy was on the show a few weeks ago. The financial
Brighton Securities.
Yeah, Brighton Securities, a brilliant guy. He said, well, I guess it was in Cuba, New York, they were making battery chargers, okay? And they were being made here, and the company moved to Mexico and moved the production to Mexico. And now you have all these people in Cuba, New York that are unemployed because they had a factory there. And then you have all the social financial things you have to do with these people because they're unemployed. And so you got your battery charges maybe a little bit cheaper across the country, but then you had this big this big depression in this one town. What sense does that make? Yeah. So things will kind of even out after a while, and he's not afraid to tick people off. I tell you that. So with that, there's one thing I want to get into next, and we'll talk about this. I call it sort of like this incredible. Well, this incredible. What do they call it? They call it Trump dysfunction. What is it? The Trump dysphoria syndrome or whatever. Whatever it is, But this attitude where we're going to get him on whatever we can, however we can, and there's something that's just really ridiculous. This came out just recently. I want to talk about. So we'll be right back after this. This is Dom Genova for my friend Jack Greco at Jack Greco Furniture. I keep saying to you that he has unique and wonderful stuff. He can build whatever you want if you want something really unique, and he has outdoor furniture. There is no reason that you should not at least go over to Jack Greco's Furniture and see what he has, because it's not like the stuff in the big box store, and you will be treated right. Go to see Jack Greco like I do. This is Don for my friend Todd, who owns Martinizing Dry Cleaning in Fairport. Like I like to say to you, he picks your clothes up and he drops your clothes off. Why schlep them yourself? I love the word schlep. You can save your time and your effort and your gas and do other things rather than take your clothes back and forth. They do a great job. Their number is 425-4242, 425-4242. Use them. I do all the time. Okay, we are here again with Chief, I like calling you Chief, Chief Jim VanBrederode, former police chief, retired. And we were talking about politics and Donald Trump and the situations of the country right now. And I had to look it up on Wikipedia. Something, I believe in this, I really do. Trump derangement syndrome is a pejorative term, according to Wiki, used to describe negative reactions to U.S. President Donald Trump that are to be perceived to be irrational, have little regard for Trump's actual policy positions. Now, here's the thing. So just recently, Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal come out and say, well, you know, he wrote this birthday card to Jeffrey Epstein, and he drew in magic marker a picture of a naked woman and said, good luck, Jerry, or something like that, Jeffrey. And, oh my God, look at that. I was saying to somebody this morning, okay, if he even did that, and, if he even did that, where is the law? Okay, what law did he break? I mean, okay, you're saying, well, he doesn't have he has some rough edges.
He does.
Okay,
and,
I got that. And then and then one of it. Here's the other thing too. You could leave something off of a report, and you're like, okay, one thing doesn't mean the other. So Trump says, well, I never, one report says, well, I never, drew pictures and whatever. And they said, no, here he is. He drew pictures of the Brooklyn Bridge. He drew pictures of the city. And there he is. Another report says he said, I never drew pictures of women. It's completely different, okay? So here it is. He did draw pictures. It's like, okay, it's like you're shooting at the guy with a pea shooter, trying to shoot him down, and it's just not going to work. And the other thing about this is that, not for nothing, but what I see an incredible. That only motivates his base even more. When you do something like that, because that's blatantly. I'm sorry. I mean, if he drew a magic marker, it's not even like it was a photograph or something. But if he drew a magic marker, woman. Naked woman. I don't care. I mean, I just don't care. It's just amazing.
You love his policies, but maybe you don't love all the stuff the guy does.
Well,
whatever he does, but his policies are more important.
It's really funny because we mentioned him on the show just a second ago. George Conboy. I love George Conboy. George Conboy has become my friend, okay? But when I met him, he goes, now you have to understand, my job is to make you money, not necessarily be your friend.
There you go.
Hey, okay, I'll sign up for that.
Exactly.
I'll sign up for that. I don't do my own dentistry, I mean, I need somebody that does this.
He's a wonderful guy, by the way. He has just been a legend and a rock star in our community. When it comes to people, the news always reaches out to George, when they want to comment on something. He is the leader. I mean, well, honestly, like I said, I'm not trying to blow smoke at you, but you and he have this way of taking complicated issues and explaining them to you. He's a commentator on BBC, the British Broadcasting Company. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he is so. But the other thing too is that let me get back into this. I talk about this all the time. This is the golden rule and the platinum rule. The golden rule is to treat people the way you want to be treated. The platinum rule is to treat them the way they want to be treated. And he's very good with that with financial items, financial strategies. Like, what makes you comfortable? Do you want to make a lot of money? If the market's up 12% and you're only up 8%, are you going to be upset with that? Or are you like he's excellent that way. That's why I just love the guy. Plus, he's a car guy.
Very good.
But anyway, let's talk about some of the things you posted lately.
Oh, let's see. We had, this Letitia James is a sore spot with law enforcement. How she's running the Attorney General's office there in New York, and so. I had a chance when I ran 2 years ago, this Michael Henry out of the New York City area as a Republican, and he's running against Letitia James. And he did pretty good a couple of years ago, and he's sticking with it. He's been campaigning nonstop since then. But I tell you, what's going to make fun next year on these state elections, this will be the first election where the public financing is going to kick in for those two races, right? It kicked in last year for the very first time. It was just senators and assembly people. In 2026, we're going to have our first governor's race and our first attorney general's race where that money is now going to be available to candidates.
Explain that a little bit more to me, how that works.
So, the thought was, and it didn't really work, but the thought was to, give the average John Q. citizen an opportunity to run. It takes a lot of money to run a campaign. It gives the average citizen an opportunity to get money from the state of New York to run, get more people to run. Two, take the corporate money out of this. The people that buy the politicians buy. For every donation you get from a constituent, a person, not a business, the state of New York will match it generally around 10 to 12%. So that little $50 donation, becomes $250, $300, something like that. So, but this is going to be the first, and the governor's race is actually worth up to almost $2 million, I believe, from public financing. So that is going to level the playing field against Kathy Hochul, who's got millions in her campaign account, millions. How do you go up against something like that? So these candidates, who don't have all that big money, like this Michael Henry, and of course if Stefanik decides to run for governor, this is going to give them an opportunity to have millions in their campaign accounts so that we can go TV ad to TV ad, mailings and stuff like that to get their message out, and that's really what these elections are. So you got a short time to especially when it's a statewide election. You got people from Rochester down to Long Island who need to know who these people are. Who is Michael Henry? So this is going to be interesting. The first time this money will be available, and the candidates are going to have an even battlefield as far as being able to get publicity and stuff like that. So this is going to be fun next year. It's going to be fun to watch, and no doubt, this is the first time we got quality people, right? When you look at, Michael Henry, or if you look at Stefanik for governor, these are quality people that we've all seen them on TV, and we say, wow, she was amazing when she questioned Kathy Hochul at that hearing. So these are quality candidates, and not just some name that they put on the ballot next year. As we've seen in other elections, they just put somebody out there to run. It's going to be it is going to be fun to watch. It's going to be a fight next year, no doubt.
Well, and the thing is, it's so unpredictable. I mean, how many people would have thought? Okay, a lot of people predicted. Understood that Trump was in a pretty good place, okay? But who could have predicted that Congress would come along with him?
Yes,
I mean,
yes, they're not.
I mean that was it wasn't a surprise. It was not a surprise that he would get elected. I think most people would say, yeah, he's got a pretty good chance, okay? Especially against who he's running against, But okay, the both houses of Congress. Huh?
That's the beautiful bill.
Yeah. Like, huh? What? You woke up, the morning after the election. You're like, huh? I mean, that's amazing. So the thing about it is that the whole system was set up so you would be encouraging maybe compromise. And I have this statement about how these things work. You either get things done one of two ways: by compromising or intimidation. I mean, you need to have 51%, or you need to get people agreeing with each other to get to the 51%. And the way things are set up now, it's virtually impossible to get anybody to agree to anything.
Right.
So what you have to do is is either it got to be negotiation or domination. I mean, and unfortunately or fortunately, I think that's the way things are working.
Yeah, and you know what's sad is when that big beautiful bill passed, to see some of our local Congress and senators, we know who they are. Nothing good of anything. It's so ugly politics right now. When that bill, it was all about how doom and gloom. Their follow-up statements after the bill passed. It's doom and gloom. New York is done. Families are done. I mean, can't we acknowledge anything? It's so disgusting politics today.
Yeah. Well, we got to go in a second, but I'll tell you one thing. Remember Ronald Reagan in front of the Berlin Wall going, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." And people are like, "Oh my God, he's going to start a nuclear war. He can't say that." And actually his advisors were saying, "You can't say that, Mr. Reagan. It's too controversial." And damn well he said it, right? Yeah, and they're saying the same thing about Ronald Reagan back then. He's going to start a nuclear war. No, well, no.
Well, we're still here.
Yeah, still here. Well, we will talk more about this in a little bit.
This is Don for a new advertiser on my show. Well, me. I wrote a book. Don't be taken for a ride. Know what your dealer knows and drive home happy. It's a fact, about 90% of the people in the United States hate shopping for a car, and actually 25% would rather have a root canal. It's just a horrible process. I tell you the secrets that you don't know, including having a dealer to English dictionary. It's lighthearted, it's fun, it's available on don'tbetaken.com. Order yours today.
Well, welcome back. We are talking to Jim VanBrederode, a good friend, a great communicator, former police chief and former president of the Monroe County Police Chiefs Association, and former candidate. Although you don't make a big deal about that anymore. It's sort of in the past. It was fun. You had fun doing that.
Meeting so many people. It was great.
Well, fun meeting the people, but it's got to be a pain in the tuchus.
It's an 8-month process,
and you're always on. Yeah, I mean, you can't hide. So that's a great thing about radio. People don't know what I look like.
That's right. You got a voice.
What they say, a voice for radio and a face to match. Yeah, thank you. You can tell we're good friends. So the whole thing about this is that we are heading in a direction. You like the direction, not the direction. But I had a boss said, and I'll clean up the language. You can't be sitting there and trying to pick the fly crap out of the pepper. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be some. In all this stuff, there's going to be something that you don't like. You could have done it differently. This would whatever. But the thing is that what amazes me is the people that are predicting. The gloom and doom, the tariff's going to end up into a recession, whatever. And then you live there. There's something called catastrophization. Okay. And what it is that you have this anxiety about something, you live it and it bothers you and it never happens, but you're living in that environment. And I see, I want to make a commentary about something, maybe it's a little bit off topic, but I see people in entertainment, okay? Yes. And even local entertainment. And you're saying Trump this and Trump that, or Biden this or Biden that, Trump this, Trump that, whatever. And you're looking to sell tickets to a concert or an event, and you are. I'll tell you a great story. So we're in Livingston County. We were living in Avon at the time, and Greg McCaffrey was a friend of ours.
Yes.
Democrat.
Good lawyer.
Good guy.
Absolutely.
Okay. He's DA, right? So Nita and I, Nita's a Republican, I'm an independent. We go to a fundraiser for Greg McCaffrey. And the county chair gets up and starts trashing Republicans. He's like, "Oh, this, and they're evil, and they're this, and they're that," and we're looking at each other. We just paid all this money to come here.
Sure,
you're insulting my wife.
What are you doing?
Like, what are you doing?
Right.
You have to understand. And I've had this happen on I won't tell you the specific of the situation, but on my show, when I was selling cars, I had my show, my No Nonsense Roundtable, selling cars. It's like, I'm not going to, tick off Louise Slaughter voters who happen to be a Democrat because, I like
Marcassini at the time.
Marcassini. I like Mark. I would vote for Mark more than her, but both types of people buy cars from me. Yeah, so you go off the walls and you start this and this and this and this. It's like I like what Ricky Gervais said at that Golden Globes thing. He says get your award, thank your God or whatever, and go sit down because you don't know any more than anybody else does. But that's it. But the internet has done that. It's given voice to people that maybe are a little nuts.
And also, a lot of times it's good. But there's definitely some abuse and bad stuff going on. But there is a lot of good stuff out there. The information now that we just never had at our fingertips. And speaking of information,
what? Go ahead.
You know what I'm impressed every day when I turn the news on is I see the president of the United States talks to us almost every day, not afraid to address questions, whether he's in the Oval Office. And I love how he wears a baseball hat. He's just being one of us, and he's communicating every day instead of, well, we haven't heard from the president directly in 60 days. I like his style of leading us and talking to us. I love it when he holds these press conferences and he surrounds himself with other department heads that are supposed to be there. I love that. You don't see that a lot of times in any organization.
Well, he doesn't. He certainly doesn't hold back. Sometimes the stuff that comes out of his mouth is just amazing. But I agree with you. Well, and that's what he did. If you're a little bit of a history buff, you know about how Harry Truman won against Dewey. Now Dewey was. Everybody thought that Dewey was going to win that election, and people didn't like Harry Truman. Well, Harry Truman went on a train, and he went across the country in a train giving speeches at these little towns one by one in the back of a train. Well, that's what Trump did. Yes. Trump went out and did these rallies and rallies and rallies. That's exactly what Harry Truman did. You remember that famous picture where some guy's holding up a paper that says Dewey wins,
yes.
because they just underestimated the power of talking to your audience.
Yes, exactly,
and not through somebody.
At the end of the day, it's convincing just the average citizen who's going to vote. That's who you got to talk to, not a union, not a corporate this or that. It's the voters, and a lot of people. His message resonated across this country. The hardworking people, the blue collar people, the farmers. His message resonated, and this is how he won.
Well, and the thing is, he's for better or worse. They say, well, he has his cabinet. These people are not qualified. Nobody's qualified for it. No, you don't take somebody who's the governor of a state. You make him the attorney general, whatever it is. You make him Rubio. He is the Department of State. He's the what's the word for that? He's the. Hold on a second. Oh my God, like a senior moment, a Secretary of State.
That's right.
So you can't take somebody who's a governor or senator. You put him in Secretary of State. And, well, he's not qualified. None of them are qualified. Nobody qualified. The thing is, the president doesn't know how to fly an F-16. He's got people that do that for him. So it's management. Lee Iacocca didn't know how to work these cutters or whatever on a factory floor. You have people that know how to manage and know how to manage people. And the thing is like have this thing with Hexit. Well, he sent all these things out, and okay, he shouldn't have done that on Signal, and well, okay, you learn. You learn, but
yep.
It certainly is not as bad. I'm gonna like Afghanistan. The thing with Joe Biden with Afghanistan, I mean, that was a freaking disaster. I understand this thing with Hexit could have been a problem, but it turned out not to be a problem, okay? But look at the other side of that, too, the Afghanistan thing. It was horrible. It was horrible.
I think it's in August, the anniversary, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, that was an embarrassing moment and a tragic moment. It was just, you couldn't believe this was America, the way that was being handled.
Well, and if you listen to a lot of military people, they'll tell you that if we left like 3,000 or 5,000 people in the country, it would have been enough to be a tripwire and not and not gotten that bad. But that's the thing, I just don't understand some of the tactics. This thing with he overvalued Laura Marga. And like the bank didn't have a problem with this,
Right.
Nobody had a problem with this, and that's being used. Oh my God, it's just, so, we're about out of time here, fortunately or unfortunately. People listening to it, this whole show might really tick off a lot of people, or it's got a lot of people cheering.
It's real talk radio.
Yeah, it's real talk radio. So, Jim, thank you for coming on the show today. You are lively and interesting as possible, and God bless you for what you do, and I hope to have you on, regularly, because you're annual or perennial. You're perennial, I guess we say perennial. Okay.
Every year.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Tune in every Saturday from 10 to 11 on News Radio Wham 1180. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.